Uh,
All right.
it's live. Yep,
Oh
we're
my
live.
god.
We're live.
Oh my god. We're live right now. Oh my god.
I'm gonna set the phone closer to the speaker so we can get a better audio. So if you don't see me, or I can just do this.
To the laptop right now.
I can just do this.
Do it.
All right. All right. So let's begin.
Go ahead, babe. You're the yeah.
So you said you had some stories you wanted to talk about, like Mark Hamill or some good part of
yeah. I'll tell you a story about anything you want. You know what? We're gonna jump right into it. Huh? We're not gonna do any intro. We're not gonna do James and Sheriff Dixon's podcast or anything like that. Nothing like that. We're just gonna get
straight into it.
Straight into it. Fuck me, man. You put me right on the spot. Even though I had like 4 weeks to get prepared. You put a man right on the spot, dude. The good thing about not having the video feed on is I can drink as much as I want. Nobody's the wise. Nobody can see. Oh, he's drinking too. Oh my god, is that a Mike's Hard?
Yep.
What a fucking mad lad! What a mad lad here. Did you put a link in the chat so the Mills Militia can see this shit? Because that's who's they're gonna show up.
All right. Give me 1 quick second so I can share the stream.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I'm streaming on my phone, I can't do it through my phone, so I'm doing it through my laptop.
No, it's all good. Just take a link from your live channel on YouTube and put it in the Discord on the Discord, babe. It's legal.
I know.
Wait. So tell me about yourself, man, because I want to tell you the stories and shit, but I also want to know like a little. Oh, there you are. I see you got some wands back there. I see a Rob Zombie print back there. It looks like a bamboo cane above your head.
That's a Jurassic Park.
No, that's John Hammond's cane.
Yep.
That's dope. Okay. Well, give me a little about yourself. Don't make a lady pull up her skirts.
Well,
why don't you tell me what's up about you? What do you want out of this podcast so I know what the fuck to say and what not to say?
Hold on, I'm posting the link in the CMS.
Sure. Is anyone here on YouTube? I should log in on YouTube as well and see what's going on, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. I was just watching some of my alien shits on YouTube. What do I search on YouTube? James the Sheriff Dixon on YouTube?
Yeah, quick second. I'm going to go to my phone and then just share it because it's not letting me share it on my laptop for some reason.
Whatever's clever.
Oh, I can still hear you. Okay.
Oh, no, we're live now. I see it.
All right. Yeah.
Hey, no, I see you on your laptop, dude.
Sweet.
Podcast 1. It's a bitchin' title.
I'm changing it later. That's just what I put in at the moment.
All right, there it goes in Seamus Bug. I'm going to take it. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to put it anywhere else I want. Because King Kong ain't got nothing on me. All right, so you good? You ready?
I'm just sharing it to my Facebook and stuff to let other people know as well.
I'll tell you, man, you got an hour, and I'm fucking out of here, dude.
Okay, all right.
I'm
all right.
I'm joking.
All right, let's go. All right. So what questions did you have now?
No, I guess I'm asking you questions. What's going on? Like, what do you want out of this podcast? Like, what are you trying to do with this podcast? Why did you want me as your first guest? What do you want out of this podcast? Who are you? Who's James the Sheriff Dixon? What are you into? What do you want out of this podcast? What are we doing here? And what's your drink?
Mike's Hard. It's my preferred lesser of the hard liquors.
Dope. Oh, they don't see me, right? We don't do that. They don't see me. They just hear me.
I can show them you every now and then.
Oh yeah, fucking blast me up there, dude. Let them see. Let them see the face in the dark, babe. Oh, but you gotta tilt the phone at the computer. Is that what you need to do? Is that how it needs to work?
Yeah, I gotta like go all the way up.
Oh, okay. So you can't like plug the. Okay, then never mind. I just didn't know if you could move my video feed onto your.
That's what I was.
Like unless you were using like I didn't know if you were using OBS or something.
Oh no, I don't know how to use OBS.
Oh man, it's so tight. OBS is so tight. You should use it, especially if you're gonna do stuff like this.
I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to do that for the next one.
Yeah, man, you totally should. You can get it on Mac even. It's so tight.
Okay. but yeah, for me trying to do this, I'm trying to get to know people better. Try to get to know you better because I've seen you on stream multiple times and we've talked and yeah.
What are you trying to know, babe? I'm here. I'm a big fat open book. What's up? Let's podcast. You know, fucking hit me with the questiones.
So what's
hit me with the Corleone questiones.
What was the story you had with Mark Hamill?
Oh man, I'll tell you what, dude. Mark Hamill. I don't know Mark Hamill. But the deal is, without going into too much detail, considering like contracts and stuff like that, I was up for a part in a Transformers show last year or 2 years ago. I think it was last year. I think it was called. Let me look it up right here. I think it was called Battle for the Primes.
Okay.
Battle of the Primes, perhaps. Battle of the Primes. Yeah, there it is. That's the. Oh no, maybe not. War of the Primes, maybe. Either way, I was up for a part in a Transformers show, which had a lot to do with the Primes from the Transformers home planet and like how the hierarchy of the leadership of the Transformers on Earth was going to pan out, and how old villains from the beginning of the Transformers era would affect that sort of shakeout.
Yeah.
And I was up for the part of I'm sure I can talk about it now because the season's already out. You can find it. I'll tell you where to find it later. I'll find it and I'll tell you where to find it later. But I was up for the part of Megatronus, who is the main villain of that season. He's like an ancient sort of villain.
A big role there.
Yeah, big role. He was sort of the villain before Megatron. Like he was the guy who, in the same way that like Optimus Primal was like before and after Optimus Prime, Megatronus was before Megatron. You know, I don't know if you know much about Transformers.
I know like some bit, not a lot, since Michael Bay took over.
So kind of, okay, tight. I was up for the part of Megatronus, and my bosses were just like, "Hey man, they really like you, and it's up to you, or this other big name talent." And I'm like, "Oh man, like I kind of hope that this big name talent drops out so I could have this fucking role." And it was all on the fence for a while, and it was looking good. Like it was looking like they really liked me at the table read and everything like that. And then it turned out that when I found out that the big talent that they were waiting for was Mark Hamill. Fucking Luke Skywalker and voice of the Joker was the other guy that they wanted to play this part. And of course, after enough time, I was like, oh shit, man, like I'm gonna beat Mark Hamill out of this part. Like fuck yeah, dude. Like this is the start of my career. Like this is gonna be dope. Of course, like they figured out what they needed to figure out, and they got Mark Hamill in there. And so I got the consolation prize of being able to say that I lost a voiceover role to the voice of the Joker / Luke Skywalker, which is cool in a very LA way, in that it means nothing. I would have really liked to have had the check and had the credit.
Yeah.
But it's cool to be sort of like weirdly linked to to Mark Hamill in that way. And now, like a year or 2 years later, my manager, like my representation, interestingly enough, I'm represented by a guy who used to represent Mark Hamill in the past. So it's sort of a weird, like backwards, forwards, jungle gym of connections that this town is. It's really weird. But that's that story that you wanted to hear. What else have you got for the next 55 minutes of this podcast?
You were also talking about script writing. I like kind of dabbled myself, like on my side.
I dabble. You tell me we both dabble.
Not professionally, but
we dabblers over here.
We dabblers.
we over here dabbling. Talk about dabbling.
Yeah.
You dabble? What's up?
I did it on the side back in like high school, out until I was out of high school, and then once I like started working, it kind of like stopped because then I started up my channel, so that kind of also stopped it. So
Wait, hold on 1 second. Who the fuck am I? Like, we started this thing and I didn't get an intro or like why people like should give a shit about like what I'm doing or saying or what.
If y'all don't know who this motherfucker is, this is Dan fucking Mills.
Yeah, show him the shit. Oh, God.
Go follow him on Twitch. I'm there on his channel. Go subscribe to him. Do whatever. Do you have a YouTube channel?
No.
You go follow him on Twitch at Mills. Can you say your name?
Can you say it?
Mills Dan Mills Animal.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Mills Dan Mills Animal at Twitch.
You put a link in your about section of this.
Yeah, when I'm done, I'll like go on Twitch and put a link in the description.
All right. So, okay, so here we are. We back. So you wrote in. You were getting interested in writing screenplays as well. In high school, and then you abandoned it when you started your channel, right? Well, what was it? What were you doing?
I was doing like horror stuff, like zombie stuff.
No kidding.
Yep.
Okay, tight.
Defines who I am, pretty much.
Does it? I see you got Rob Zombie back there.
Yep.
Yeah. You talk about the zombie shows.
Talk about the zombie.
Are you into Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior? My man was the original zombie.
Let's not turn into those people that knock on the doors at like 3 a.m. Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's not turn into
what Jehovah's Witnesses? What vampire Jehovah's Witnesses are knocking on your door at 3 a.m.? Because I've had Jehovah's Witnesses knock on my door, but not at 3 a.m. Like, not unless they like have an aversion to garlic and they trying to suck blood and shit. They try to suck
you want some crack?
Well, that's totally different. That's not Jehovah's Witnesses or vampires. Then there's just like very strangely blatant, not even crackheads, but crack dealers.
They come right to your door.
Crack dealers with a lot of initiative are the crack dealers that kind of bang on your door at 3 a.m. Like, hey man, you want some crack? I've never had that happen to me. Maybe I haven't lived in a shitty neighborhood.
I live in Detroit, so it's not much different from living in LA, really. So.
Oh man, Detroit! You guys are the hard ones. Like LA, we're the softy boys. We're the Stay Puft Marshmallow Men over here, dude. That should be like fuck the Rams and the Chargers. Both of our football teams should be the Stay Puft Marshmallow Men. We should be the LA softy boys each time. And I know a guy who plays for the fucking Rams, and I mean he's not a softy. Like he's tough as fuck. Obviously, he's a pro football player, but I feel like LA folk, especially people like me, not like bangers and whatever, but you know, we're definitely softer than y'all folk that live up in Michigan.
Detroit proud.
Detroit. Yeah, I saw you on my Anthony Bourdain special. Yeah, I'm down with the struggle, man. That's a joke. I feel like a lot of my jokes don't land when you can't see my face. But maybe I'm just like not that funny. Oh, now your feed is so like when you flip it around, it's just your bed. All right, what's up? Let's get it. Well, I've had enough fun. I mean, like not to say the rest isn't gonna be fun. I've told you some stories. I've been self-deprecating. I've shot the shit. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about, James. What are we getting into here, babe? Take a beat.
Oh, okay. We can get the political part out of the way first.
Oh man, you want to get the okay? Yeah, hit me.
The Trump reinstated an emergency something on Thursday about the wall again.
Oh man, he instated a state of emergency in order to pay for the wall, right?
Yep.
Oh man, talk about crazy.
Yep.
What's your question? That's just like I'm sorry. So what we're gonna just be like, oh man, Trump be crazy.
New segment.
Trump be crazy. Just to see that President Trump instated a state of emergency address in order to finance his wall to separate Mexico from the United States. Everybody ready? Trump be crazy.
Music starts playing. Text pops up. New segment. Trump be crazy.
Yeah. Honestly, like I'm a little disappointed that fucking confetti isn't falling from your ceiling right now, and like a banner that says "Trump be crazy" isn't falling down. Like seriously, the production value of this podcast is really letting you down here, babe.
Well. Oh god. Other than that, he's done a really bunch of stupid shit.
Oh no way! Really? No man! No way! What?
I held the government hostage for like 3 weeks in the middle of the worst winter storm.
He held the government hostage. He shut down the government. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. What that?
For 3 weeks in the middle of one of the worst winter storms like ever.
How did that affect? Like, what was the deal with that? Fill me in. Because shit, man, I've been playing Vermintide like a fucking nerd, dude. I don't even know. I've been rereading Joseph Conrad and fucking playing Vermintide and you know like writing bullshit. Like, Tony, you got your finger on the pulse here, babe. Like,
I'm trying to remember, but like it was like from like the beginning of like the middle of January to like the beginning of like February, those 3 weeks, and like that's when the big up here where the weather changes rapidly. There was like a whole week for when it went from like -40 to like 50 degrees in like 3 days, and like that's when the government was shut down
because of Trump. Like because he fucking like
and those are the memes that he caused the weather to shut down.
The temperature rises. That's the key. That's the key. No, I don't know. What are you getting at?
But yeah, like a lot of people are trying to impeach him now because of this border wall thing.
Yeah, because this border wall thing that's been happening for like 4 years. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Honestly, I don't like him as a president. To be honest, I could care less about politics in general. Because, like I've said before, I'm a conspiracy theorist.
Have you any conspiracy theories regarding this fucking wall, dude?
No, I'm not.
Okay. What about any theories that you might have about the sitting president, about President Trump? Have you any theories in regards to this motherfucker?
I think if he leaves, he'll either start World War III just because out of spite. Well, he probably already did after dropping out of that treaty with
Wait, you're saying that he already started World War III?
Well, he dropped out of that treaty that Reagan signed with Russia to stop making nukes, like a few days ago, and Russia started making.
Man, Reagan. Now we talking about. We ain't talking about Trump now. Now we talking about Dutch. Now we talking about Dutch. Now we talking about Reagan. Now we talking about that disease.
That's what I'm talking about. He dropped, that treaty that says they can't make nukes anymore. As soon as Trump dropped out of that, Russia starts making nukes again. So Russia's making nukes now. And now we're gonna start making nukes again in 6 months.
Is that what it was? Is that what the treaty was?
Yeah. So we don't go back to that Cuba war thing where we were almost about to kill each other.
The Cuba war thing.
Back in like the 80s with
the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, but when we were about to kill each other.
Or was it that?
That's what it was. The peace treaty, so we don't make nukes anymore.
Okay. So we haven't made nukes
since then.
Okay, since then. Okay.
But now Russia is already making nukes, and we're going to start making nukes again in 6 months because Trump signed us out of that peace treaty because he thinks that Russia was already making nukes beforehand.
Hey, you know what, Russia? You know what, man?
At this point in life, I could care less if the world ends either.
Why?
I just don't know if who's going to be next after Trump for president. Who's going to fuck the world up even more?
I mean, don't tempt fate like that. Damn it! You gotta talk about hope, son. You gotta talk about hope, son. It's like you didn't even learn anything from those Star Wars films, which are adorned on your shirt. Talk about you gotta talk about hope, son. We gotta think of somebody new. We gotta think about somebody new and different. We can't let pessimism. We can't let pessimism sort of like put us into that sort of that trench of what's the word I'm looking for? Inaction. You know, we gotta keep it up. We gotta rock the vote. CJ Craig told us.
All right. So as I said before, I'm a conspiracy theorist. Let's jump into this. Let's leave them back like at Thanksgiving. Let's back the politics out of this conversation.
Yeah, this is the meat. This is the meat right here. I've been waiting to talk to you about the conspiracy theories. So go ahead.
Like, I believe in a whole I'm like Fox Mulder whenever somebody brings up something.
You look like him.
It's because I've been growing my shit out. I also have I also have the poster.
Oh wait, who's that autograph by? Bring me over there.
I'm gonna bring the laptop too, so they can see what you're seeing.
Pick it up.
It's autographed by the Smoking Man and by Skinner.
Get the fuck out of here! That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you call him the Smoking Man?
The bad guy?
Yeah.
That's what his name. That's what his
See, okay, yes, but I've always opted to call him the Cancer Man because that sounds so much more evil.
Because of all the.
And he's talked about like how they have the cure for cancer and everything. That's why he doesn't have to worry about smoking. I always thought the Cancer Man sounded like a cooler name for.
Well, he never dies, so.
Than the Smoking Man. No, that's what I mean. He never dies because he's got the cure. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I watched the whole series to that show too. So yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so conspiracy theories. Let's go.
I liked how X-Files was the opener for that. All right, so yeah. The opening thing I had was that rock last year that was like floating towards Earth. That like
yes, that cylindrical rock, right? It
yeah,
was coming across the sun and coming towards Earth.
Yeah, it was like flying. Not like it was. I want to say it was flying because it was making its path towards us, and then as soon as it saw Earth, it made like a dead stop, and then started turning away.
Okay,
If you saw all the
interesting,
news
'cause
reports,
I heard,
about it, that's what they said. It made like a dead stop, went in its tracks, and as soon as it saw Earth or whatever it saw, and then it started turning around.
that's interesting because I had heard that it had kind of slung around the gravity well that is the sun and made its way to Earth and didn't stop, but picked up speed on its way to Earth. But then, as it left Earth's gravitational field or left the sun's gravitational field, it picked up speed twice in a way that is that would be
Normal?
hitherto unexplainable, like physically.
Yeah,
Like,
normal than a asteroid. Yeah.
Because you can sling, like we've all seen Star Wars and shit, babe. You're wearing a shirt. Like we can slingshot around planets and get that gravity boost or whatever who's that fucker on Futurama? That's Zap Brannigan. He says if we slingshot around the meteor, we might get some kind of gravity boost or something. Yeah. No, it moves around these celestial bodies, and then maintaining speed increases speed twice for seemingly no reason and without any sort of cause, which made a lot of people believe that it was a crap, because like how else could it? Because people an inanimate thing without independent thrust can't
go fast. Yeah, go twice as fast. Yeah, can't
get go fast.
And go out of the solar system like exactly. Within a week or like 2 weeks, which is what it did.
Which is what I heard.
Yeah, it got out of the solar system within like 2 weeks or something like that after it got close to Earth.
Yeah, so what's up? You know what that is?
No, there's like a whole bunch of conspiracy theories about aliens. It's like scientists looked through this telescope and saw that it looked nothing like a regular asteroid either.
What did it look like to you?
Like a curved, like a regular like a UFO, but looked like an asteroid.
Okay.
But like a huge curved like asteroid thing.
You can say dick, and I'm not gonna get on you for that.
Dick.
He said it. You guys get him in the comments. TOS.
I'm trying to find a picture real quick.
No, I don't know what that fucking thing is, and I have to be really careful about how much I pay attention to stuff like that, because it's stuff like that can really keep me up at night. You know, that can really freak me out, and like I had a real problem with, like, when I was a boy, I saw that movie, and I don't know if you saw it. And if you haven't, you might want to include it in your bad movies thing, which I know you do on the James and Sheriff Dixon YouTube channel, which we're currently on. That's a plug. There's I think there's a movie called A Fire in the Sky.
I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it. I don't think I've seen it.
It's based on the Close Encounter of the Fourth Kind of a man named Curtis, who is taken by. There's your fan.
I'm getting my charger.
Who's taken by aliens and has experiments done on him, and there's sequences in that movie that are just fucking upsetting and horrifying. And I saw that far too young. And like as a little Christian boy, like aliens really, really freaked me out. I forget what I was doing with that. Did you see that? Watch it. Talk about it. Do you remember where I was going with that?
And he's just saying, "What's the asteroid?" Yeah, I got.
You remember, James? You don't even know. Oh, James. Oh, sir.
It was the asteroid you were talking about, right?
It was. No, what I was saying was because of movies like that, and my experience as a boy, like, I was very freaked out by a phenomenon like this for a long time, and then things it was sort of a Venn diagram of interest and disinterest, when I was so afraid that I became interested in learning more about it.
Yeah, it's like the fear that
developed into a fascination.
Yeah, fear that turns into you wanting to know about it.
Right.
I found a picture of the object.
Yeah, post it. Can you? How do we do this? This is not. Use a stream deck and Can you bring it up?
I can post it to.
Show it. We gotta get you a stream deck, babe. We can put that shit right up there. We can discuss it.
All right, I'm going to Discord right now. Well, while I'm doing that, I can just show you it on stream real quick, if you can see that.
Oh yeah. There it is. There's the tube. There it is.
Yeah, it turned around.
No, it's turned for sure.
Yeah, that was it. That's why people were like thinking it was something else other than an asteroid. That's what I was talking about. It looked like an asteroid, but wasn't.
For sure. What do you think it is?
I definitely think it's not an asteroid because it left our solar system 2 weeks after it found Earth. Whatever was on that saw humans and saw what we were doing to our planet and was like, get the fuck out of here.
Oh no, so you're saying that it saw humans from afar and
like whatever
how much we fucked shit up and was like, nah, we don't want a part of that.
Because there's this like theory that the zoo theory, if I don't know if you've heard of this, for like where why we haven't seen
I watched the Twilight
Zone. Why aliens don't visit us because they've already seen what we've done to our planet, so they leave us alone.
Yeah.
And there might be other aliens keeping aliens away from us that want to contact us. So that might have been a situation that we just saw.
Oh, neat. So you're saying that
that's what a lot of people think.
There's a group of aliens who are trying to isolate us, and this tube meteor showed up and noticed how close they were getting, and then this group that is trying to keep us isolated was like, no, back the fuck off. We got humans.
Yeah.
Like fuck off from here.
Even though they got so close to they got so close to the sun though. Yeah.
Yeah. They flew too close to the sun. They about to get humans. I think those theories are neat. I think those theories are neat in a very sort of like self-deprecating, sort of like pessimistic humanitarian kind of way. And that it's like, like there's definitely other life out there, and there's definitely like other races and cultures and things out there, but we're not allowed to play with them because we're dirty and we don't know we don't know how to take care of our shit. You know, like I think that there's something there's something entertaining about that in the sense that it is hugely self-deprecating, and that in a very tragic way. Like we can't join the culture of the cosmos because we fuck up our own shit too much. You know, like we play too rough, or we're too dirty, or we're too poor, or whatever. And while I think that it's funny, I also think that it is like profoundly sad.
Is that why you don't think we can go back to the moon? That's one of the subjects I wanted to talk.
I didn't say that. When did I say that we can't go back to the moon?
I wanted to bring up the subject because, we haven't been back to the moon in so long, and we could go back to it in the '60s, and our technology has gotten way better now.
Oh, fuck you, man! Let's go back to the moon. Let's go back to the moon today.
I'm thinking, why hasn't some eccentric billionaire got?
We just went back. I mean, not Americans, but the Chinese just got back there earlier in the month.
They only sent a probe. They only sent a probe. They didn't send humans.
Oh, was that the deal?
Yeah, that's what they did. They just sent a probe to take pictures of the dark side of the moon.
I'll tell you what, man. I love Pink Floyd. So sending somebody to the dark side of the moon is some real cool shit to me. No, yes, let's go to the moon, and let's go back there. But also why? I don't know, man. Also, I'm kind of in love with the theory that everybody was so fascinated with Stanley Kubrick's prowess as a filmmaker in the 1960s.
Yeah, the fake moon. Yeah,
fake the moon landing. think it's tight, and I really when you watch the movie Room 237, and they discuss the theory that the Shining is not a love letter, but a confession letter from Stanley Kubrick that motherfucker actually faked the moon landing. I think that was like profoundly cool. Whether I believe in it or not, I think it was like profoundly cool. And
I watched 2001, and I think that came out in the 60s, didn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, but very different movie though, James. Like, Room 237 wasn't by Stanley Kubrick, and it came out in like 2015 on Stanley Kubrick.
I think it was the guy who did the designs probably did something to make people also think they faked it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm saying, like, I think the thing was that he used his team and his expertise to fake it. But, like, I'm saying the Room 237 is a movie that discusses the possibility of said fake.
Okay.
Yeah. That being said, fuck yeah, let's go back to the moon. Let's go to the stars. Let's go to Mars.
Let's try to find that space rock.
Let's get lost in space. No, fuck that space rock. That space rock. The space rock could have kissed it and then he missed it. Like, nah,
he could have said fuck. He could have said fuck the police and kept on going.
He could have got involved, but he was small. That second round wasn't as good. But no, we got to go do our own thing, man. Like, then there's also that I was reading a theory earlier today. Actually, I was just writing a piece on the sort of not a gap in development, but the expedition of development of sort of Homo sapiens between Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon.
I was seeing a bunch of stuff about that too. Yeah.
And how people attribute that to the interjection of like an alien species or crossbreeding with aliens. What do you think about that? I think that sounds like kind of like weird and crazy.
There's a whole bunch of gaps between the history missing between like the ancient Egyptians and like now. I'll say that, like, which is what the Neanderthal time, like the ancient Egyptians and now there's like a whole bunch of gaps of history missing.
But the ancient Egyptians were Neanderthals, though, babe.
That was before them?
The Neanderthals were well before the Egyptians.
Okay. That's also an interesting topic, too, the missing history as well.
Yeah. No, that's what I was saying. I'm sort of saying that... sorry, you really threw me for a loop with that. No, I'm saying that I think that the concept of the crossbreeding of aliens and humanity in that special sort
to make us what we look like,
historical position, and that sort of not just what we look like, how we problem solve, and like how our brains work.
Okay.
In the way that it happens, sort of, I think it was in like the Upper Pleistocene era. I think that. I don't know. Like, I'm not a paleoanthropologist. Like, I'm not an anthropologist, and I'm not a fucking cryptozoologist. I'm not a fucking primatologist. I'm not a fucking whatever the fuck. Like, I studied English lit, so I know fucking dick. But it's just something that I'm constantly. Whenever I go back and look at those things, I'm like, fuck, man, that is a pretty egregious jump in the like the thought processes of what is essentially like early modern like human beings, like after like the migrations from like Europe to Africa and then back to Europe. I don't know. I really didn't say fucking anything there, so I don't know what the fuck. What are your thoughts on the matter?
I will say that like you said, man, that's a mouthful. I again, there's a lot. I think the government's hiding a lot of stuff too from us. That like they have a bunch of secret vaults and stuff that I would believe would have the answers that they are not giving us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just drinking some room temperature gin. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You think that there's vaults? Yeah, for sure. The vaults hold the keys.
I definitely know the Vatican has
the vaults. The keys. You need the keys to get into the vaults, and the vaults hold the keys.
I definitely
understanding.
And I definitely know the Vatican has like one of the most kept vaults of like in the world. Like I saw like a documentary about that. Like the Vatican has like most like kept secrets about like the world. I think.
The Vatican is like fucking Gringotts, and like they got vaults underneath there with all manner of secrets,
catacombs,
and all manner of fucking shit down in the catacombs.
Watch them demonetize. Watch them demonetize. These are talking about.
Yeah, watch like we hit the nail on the head, and the government is just like shut down this fucking podcast.
Right after that Shane Dawson conspiracy.
Yeah, get Shane Dawson in here. Where's Shane Dawson at? I don't know who the fuck Shane Dawson is. What are you talking
about? that famous YouTube.
Is he on Walking Dead?
No, he's the YouTube guy.
Oh, which YouTube guy?
Not Brandon Rogers, the other long-term famous guy who does conspiracy stuff.
The Ancient Aliens guy?
No, he does.
I went to college with that guy.
The guy that the one with the meme that says aliens.
Yeah, well, we didn't go to college together, but we went to the same college.
Oh, okay. He did like the history part, and you did like the English part.
Oh yeah. No, that's a funny. No, exactly. I did we both minored in crazy hair though. No, but I'm pretty sure that aliens dude from fucking History Channel went to Ithaca College where I
went. Cool. Oh. That guy believes in a lot more. That guy believes in a lot more than I do. I will say that.
What? I'm sorry.
That guy believes in a lot more than I do. I will say that.
Does he?
Yes.
What are you? Okay, here's what. I'm gonna take control of this shit real quick.
Oh, flip script.
I'm gonna flip the ye old script right here. What do you believe in, babe? What are the things that James the Sheriff Dixon believes in?
Okay, this is gonna get deep for a quick.
Let's get fucking deep. The floaties are off. The lifeguards are off duty. Mom and Dad are trying to fix their marriage at the Olive Garden, and no one is paying attention to us in the pool. Let's get deep.
All right.
Babysitter's got her top off. Let's get deep.
Freddy Krueger's killing people.
Wait. You can't fuck. Okay, hold on. You don't even want to ease us into this shit. Like you went deep. Like I'm gonna take a fucking swan dive into the deep end. Wait, so you think not only is Freddy Krueger real?
No. I was just adding on to your. I was adding on to your joke.
Oh man, I think that was. I didn't pick up on that. I thought that was, even then that was a pretty harsh add-on.
Okay, but I'll start off.
See, now I can't get past it. Like now, like you got to really get on me. Like you don't think Freddy Krueger's
No, I don't. I'm gonna get into it. Okay, so I do. Going on to like extraterrestrial things, I do believe, like, the movie Contact.
Fuck yeah, I know Contact.
I like the idea.
Jodie Foster, right?
Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, that one.
Matthew McConaughey. Yeah.
I like the idea of that movie about aliens because it broadens the prospect of if we don't find anything, then we're the only ones, and if we do find anything, then there is other life out there. Because I like the line that if there can't be nothing out there because that's an awful lot of waste of space.
That's a dope. And if I could take a moment, that's a theory that I think is That's a theory that I think is very, very fucking interesting, while simultaneously being like profoundly sad. I was in preparation for this podcast today. I was reading about alien communication theory and like shit like that, and that there is a theory that essentially that human beings are late, like they're too late for the party, which is to say that
aliens came before us.
Species all these alien species who may have existed are now extinct, and we like human beings are not the only life to have existed in the universe, but we are the last. Which I don't know what that means necessarily, like in the scale of like galactic or like universal culture, because it's impossible to know without understanding like the other contributors to it. But yeah, I do think it is profoundly sad in that there is no one left for us to learn from, and we are left to destroy ourselves in the way that we're currently on track to destroy ourselves with. Like we never had any chance. Like there was no big brothers, like there were no moms or dads, like intergalactically or universally. There was just, I think it's very interesting, and it's a neat way to think about it, because we always think about human beings as the race who is like, oh, we don't know yet. We're just so young. We don't know yet. We don't know the best way to do it. And someday an alien race is going to show up and like fix our shit. But like for us to accidentally come across after the all-knowings or like the high-knowings or the great galactic generals or what have you have, come and gone, and we're just sort of the backwater, like nothings. We're the backwater ignorance who have no one left to show them the way, and we're doomed to, like exist until our non-existence and our own ignorance. I think that that's fucking profoundly sad. I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about that until today, and I had to go to the CVS and get some gin. That's something I'm definitely going to continue to think about as I process like all these theories about intergalactic and interplanetary culture, and about the introduction of other like interspatial like races or whatever. And I'm sure that I'm not using a lot of these words properly, but. That was something that really fucked me up, because it was one of those things that so long it just became, because we don't know as much as we think we ought to know.
That's what they always say.
We assume that we are the quote unquote young ones of existence. We are the quote unquote young ones of the galaxy or the universe or whatever. Yeah. And a big brother is going to come along at some point, and he's either going to be a belligerent big brother and give us noogies and fucking planetary war and eradication, or he's going to be the nice big brother and he's going to give us porno mags and fucking weed and like really awesome medicine and like really dope music and shit like that.
Like in Futurama or Rick and Morty.
Yeah, exactly. But like to think that there is nobody and we're waiting on no one is not only sad in the way that we are no one without anyone else, because without anyone else to recognize who we've been once we're gone, we're no one. But it's also sad in the sense that it's upsetting that we'll never know more. Like it's what we know and what we're dealing with, and the way that we're choosing to deal with it. We're like the latchkey kids of the universe. We're the latchkey kids of the galaxy. Like there's nobody to show us the way until mom and dad are never coming home. We come home from school and we're left to our own devices, and we're waiting for us to show us the way, and we just keep fucking up until the house burns down and we're gone.
Yep, we're all dead.
And all we're doing is waiting for somebody else. I think that's profoundly sad.
Famous Battlestar Galactica line, everything's happened before and it will happen again.
Yeah, I mean Battlestar Galactica is like that, but also different in that like to turn Battlestar Galactica into that sort of like same situations. Like that latchkey kid was so lonely because mom and dad and big brother never came home that they made like they became the robot little brother who was like really focused on killing them. It was like a Zathura kind of situation.
They became the aliens.
Well, no, they didn't become the aliens. They just, I mean, yes, in Battlestar Galactica they did, but like in this situation, they'd be just like, well, then humanity is like in the middle of two ends playing towards the center, just took up a huge amount of time talking about that fucking.
That's what this is for. Like, yeah, like I said though, Contact was that movie that, like, once I saw it, I didn't see it till like a year or two ago. That's how long it took me to find that movie.
What? No way. That is like prime. That is prime McConaughey hotness, dude.
That's what everyone.
Like he's so hot in that movie that you don't even care that he so clearly doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about scientifically. Like, you were supposed to believe that he's like this fucking super
astrology guy,
guy who lives in the fucking rainforest and is also a scientist and shit. And
like an astrology.
When he talks to Jodie Foster, whom I totally believe is a super genius.
Yeah,
he's like, well, those aliens, man, they come out here and they, yes, they do. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, you're super hot. Like, whatever you want to say, but like, Jesus Christ, dude, are you fucking hearing yourself?
It was that accent, though.
I don't know. That wasn't Matthew McConaughey. There was somewhere between like Matthew McConaughey and like Bill Clinton.
Yeah, it was that movie that started making me think about like alien life and life in general differently.
How so? Give me a for instance. Now.
Like I said earlier, like all the space out there, like it can't be all for nothing. Like, that movie combined like religion and other things with it too, but like all that space can't be just for nothing.
Okay, I'm gonna. Can I jump?
You can, yeah.
All right. Here's what. I think that it is a very comforting thought, or it's a very hope-inspiring thought for humans to have that, like, if the universe is so expansive. Like, it's the antithesis of, like, we're the only ones in the universe and that's why we're so special. The antithesis of that thought is there's so much of the universe, there's no way it's only us.
Yeah.
But neither one of those, especially the latter, is any real reason for anything to actually exist. It's just like, man, I'd be sad if...
We were
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we were
like, or I would feel special if, there's no real, like, yeah, and there's the rule of large numbers and things like that, which, like, would sort of contribute to that belief, but the whole concept of just, like, there's too much space for us to be the only ones, or, like, because there's so much space and we're the only ones, like, we're special, what have you. I feel like that sort of plays into that narcissism that's so weirdly, like, traditionally human, like, as opposed to what, I don't know, because, like, what other animal has narcissism on the planet?
Yeah, people are the only ones.
Humanity is narcissism, instead, like, in that, like, the consideration of, like, ourselves dealing with other things. Like, I don't know. It I don't know. It just feels weird to, and not to, like, throw shit or, like, throw shade, but it feels weird to say that, like, oh man, there's no way we're the only ones because the place is so big. Like, there must be more for us. Seems whack.
I get it.
The opposite seems whack, but at the same time, I definitely believe there's more out there. But I don't believe it has anything to do with us. What was that fucking... There was an alien movie or an alien comic book or something where a group of aliens was rolling through the galaxy or rolling through the universe, and they found Earth, and they were looking for, like places to colonize or, like, species to fuck or, like, whatever. And it was like a comedy. It was kind of a bit. And they're like, oh, what about this one? Oh, that's Earth. And it's like, oh, what's that mean? It means dirt. It's just like,
I think, yeah, I think I know what you're talking. I've seen that. I don't know what the name. I don't know what the name. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know what. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm very into the idea, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm very into the idea that, like, humanity is not special galactically and certainly not universally. Like, if anything, we're either the people that the universe forgot, or we're the people that the universe ignored, and the most comfortable way that I think about it is the sci-fi or the Star Trek way, and that like we will continue to be ignored or we will remain forgotten until we prove ourselves to be worthy. Otherwise, it's that sort of only child kind of syndrome that we have as a species. We're just like, no, look how cool we are, even though how much we fuck up all the time. Like somebody's gonna show up and notice us eventually and give us everything we want, instead of like us getting our act together and fucking
and doing ourselves,
problems and doing ourselves a favor.
Yeah, the other thing I was gonna say.
Sorry about that. This is man.
The other thing I was gonna say.
Going on these huge tangents.
That's okay though. Yeah, the other thing I was gonna say though was other than aliens, only other big thing I was gonna say. You said talk about yourself was I don't believe like in the existence of like a God. I do believe that something did create the universe, because although a bunch of religions believe in a God. So if there's more than one, then there's more than one. If there's just one entity posing as one, then there is. So I like to believe there's something out there as well, for like religion wise.
So what's your question? Because I think I got something to say.
That's not my question. I'm just saying though, like that's what I believe is like there's something out there that's a celestial being that might have created the universe, because I think scientists said that they discovered that like the universe itself is alive. So that's also what got me thinking that like someday we might discover that there is a celestial being out there that we might call God.
Man, I think that such considerations are. Man, I think that it's neat because how do I say this? Are we going here? This is what we're talking about at the podcast right now. We're talking about like the existence of God as an alien force. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, fucking slam that mic. No, go again. Dude, give me another one. Give me another fucking heel up. There you go. There's my boy. I love that you knew that you were gonna fucking interview me for this podcast tonight, and you're like, oh man, I better fucking throw back some drinks to keep up with this toxic. You're like, oh fucking Mills, that drunk piece of shit. I better fucking drink to be able to handle this asshole. I think that when it comes down to conceptualizing a architect, like a grand architect, quote unquote, or like a creator being or creator entity, or like a spiritual and moral creative entity, I think that it is. I think that it is simultaneously limited to a Earth experience, while simultaneously like banishing a universal one or a galactic one. I think that why wouldn't it, like any sort of any sort of moral standpoints or any sort of things that might have been said or any teachings that might have been passed down and misconstrued or what have you, could have come from entities which weren't all-knowing beings from, like beyond the cosmos or whatever. I think that like it's very possible. It's possible, I will say, that they like, or why isn't it possible? I should say, to protect myself a little better. Why isn't it possible that it wasn't just somebody else who arrived here and said a thing?
Yeah.
Like why is it so much the tendency of humans to say like this is the way that it works here, so this is the way that it must work everywhere else? And especially as like we get older and older and we become more and more learned, why is the situation that like these things that we understand to be true, quote unquote, like spiritually, emotionally, religiously, scientifically, scientifically should be actually excluded from that because science is a fact. Like wherever you fucking go, that's how we're able to leave the earth. These sort of emotional or social laws, these sort of like these stones of emotional social laws. Why do we think that they're definitely true wherever we go, or wherever we would go, or wherever anybody else would come from? You know, the idea that yes, there is a God. Like, okay, cool, that might be fine, but oh man, I've had a lot to drink. I guess what I'm saying is, especially when it comes to those older societies, and they're talking about like how the introduction of alien races or whatever like might be responsible for their buildings or their moral codes or their strong men or what have you. Oh boy. I think that when we consider those things, we often don't consider the fact that like we're making it very much about us and the human experience. Whereas like if there's another entity from space who is conditioning that experience, it automatically means that there's more to the experience of a life form than just the human / Terran experience of a life form. Which, man, we kind of get into a weird little
conversation,
weird little thing there with that. Yeah, slug that down a little more. Oh boy, this is one of those things that like I can definitely talk through, but like when I talk about it and I'm on tape, it makes me sound like a fucking asshole.
It's not like you're on a big channel or anything.
Listen to your X-Files, listen to your Star Trek, because I don't have any ideas that weren't put in my head by Gene Roddenberry, Rod Serling, or whatever fucking asshole created Babylon 5 or fucking what's that one with the robots that you talked about earlier?
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica. Fuck whoever came up with that too. That fucked me up in the head enough. I love all those guys, but like, god damn it, like if they're not, that's what I'll say. If you're a really brilliant sci-fi writer, the people who are really gonna like go after your ideas and really fucking consider them, they're gonna think you're a piece of shit because they're gonna it's gonna disrupt your understanding of their experience and their experience as an individual and as a citizen of the world. However they might perceive the world. So that's what I'll say to leave this. I think we're at about an hour. I would say to leave this.
That's good to leave that there. If you're ever free time again, you can always come back again as a guest.
Yeah, of course, I'd love to. This has been really fun, James.
All right, say bye.
Hey, goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, James, the Sheriff Dixon Nation. Goodbye, Dixon Nation. Show me that. Oh yeah, right over there to your right.
All right.
Nope. Keep going. Oh, that's your left now. Yeah, show me all those photographs and everything and that. Yeah, show me all that. What's going on over there? What's all this? What's your head for it? You got a lot of family photos there, babe. What's going on with this?
Those are famous people.
Oh, those are famous people. They got laid. They got drop downs like their family photos. Got some Barbasol back there.
That's because
you like Jurassic Park, not because you shave regularly.
1 second.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Yay! 10 points to Ravenclaw. I'm a Ravenclaw. Yeah, for fucking sure. Yeah, definitely called that. What's in those drawers there? See, dude. Oh, fuck. That's a really awesome backboard. I really wish I had that headboard. What's your famous one out of all those?
I haven't had my favorite one yet. Melissa McBride, I haven't met yet.
Wait. But who's the one that you have that you're most proud of?
Probably Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus is dope. Norman Reedus is dope. Hey, do I get a plug for doing this?
What do you mean, like a?
Do I get to tell people like what I think they should do? Like, do I get 10 seconds to say whatever I want to say at the end of it?
You can do whatever you want to say at the end, right? You can just.
All right, cool. You don't have to see me. Yeah, you can take a look at all James's betting and everything right there.
I'll just set you down.
Everybody, read us. Oh.
I'll set you down by the speaker.
Yeah, just let me know. Oh, there's the fan. There's the ceiling fan. Dope. Yeah, use the ceiling fan as a method of hypnosis and listen to everything that I have to say. Read as much as you can. There's the hands. Cool. Read as much as you can. Take care of yourself. Make sure you get something to eat. Haven't seen you eat anything all day. Make sure you get enough sleep. Read as much as you can. Think for yourselves. And find Dan Mills Animal on Twitch.
So subscribe to him.
Subscribe to him, follow him, do whatever. Come hang out, say hey, call him a fat piece of shit, whatever you want to do. Tell him he doesn't have views that coincide with your own. Just find me on Twitch, Mills Animal. We're playing single player and cooperative multiplayer games 5 nights a week. I was happy to be here with James Sheriff Dixon on his sort of inaugural first podcast. So dope. I think I gotta go because I'm being hypnotized by the ceiling fan you got up here, man.
All right, I'll see you on your Twitch, and I'll ask you again for another podcast later on after a few episodes.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Let me know how this turns out. When you cut this down, let me know, okay?
All right.
All right, hey, man.
See ya.
You're doing a good job. Okay, later.
Bye. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. All right, I'm gonna end stream and see if this worked. See you all in the next podcast.